Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. I am Stefana and today I wanted to take a little bit of time and sit down and talk through some of the 2024 reflections that I've had. I was actually listening to a podcast episode by Mel Robbins. I love Mel Robbins. She's just kind of like a motherly figure. Like if you listen to her podcast episodes, it's advice that you wish your mom would have given you. So I was listening to a podcast by Mel Robbins and she pointed out that you can't really start a new year and know how to go forward unless you take time to reflect on the past year or the past few years and really dial in on what went right, what went wrong, and what you've learned in that time. So I've spent the past few days really taking time to reflect on all of the things that have happened in the past year or two that have helped me grow so much. And with that, I really just started to notice some trends on lessons that I've learned. So I thought I would sit down and do a little get ready with me. I'm gonna do my makeup. We're gonna talk about 10 of the lessons that I've learned in the past year or so. And I'm just gonna kind of chat. We're just gonna catch up. I feel like I haven't sat down, I haven't talked with you guys like this in a long form video in a while, so I thought now was the perfect time. Also, I'm gonna be doing my makeup in this video. I just wanna show you guys what a face looks like with no filter, with no edits. This is my skin right now. You guys know, if you followed me for a long time, I have always struggled with acne, literally since 6th grade. There's been times when it got better. There's been times when it's been worse than this, but I definitely don't have perfect skin. So I'm gonna show you guys my makeup routine. So if you have similar skin texture or coloring to me, maybe this video could also help. Aside from all the life lessons that I've learned, maybe it could show you a product that you might really like for your makeup routine. I feel like 2024 was honestly not my favorite year. I feel like every year a lot of people are like, this was the best year. And when I was really taking time to reflect back on 2024, there were so many things that were so awesome that deserved to be celebrated, but I feel like it wasn't really the best year of my life. Like I feel like there are a lot of things that I was struggling with, a lot of things that I had to get through and work through, and I definitely could make a whole entire another video on this topic with just business related lessons that I've learned. But for today's video, we're just going to be talking about personal life lessons that I've really learned over the past year or so. I would say one of the first lessons that really stood out to me was that you are what you eat, and not in the sense of food. You are what you consume, like the content that you're consuming, the people that you're consuming, the music that you're consuming, the movies that you're consuming. You are what you eat. I can think back on this past year and think about the times when I was the most productive, I was the hardest working, I was the most dialed into my self-care. And I can think back to what podcast I was listening to, what type of music I was listening to start my day. Like for example, I used to start my day listening to like EDM music. And when I transitioned out of that and listening to like softer, more relaxing music to start my day, I noticed that my energy levels and my stress levels stayed down. So in the sense of you are what you consume, I really mean that from the beginning of your day to the end of the day, every single piece of media or every single person that you run into really does impact the way that the rest of your day is going to go. So I encourage you guys this year, maybe challenge yourself to make sure that you're consuming media or consuming even the influencers that you follow. If you are consuming content that is making you feel bad, even if it's positive content, even if they're sharing content that is helping some people, if it's not helping you, it's hurting you. And you are what you consume. So if you are following someone and they're constantly preaching something that you don't believe in for yourself, maybe we stop consuming that so we can really lean into what we really believe. Maybe if you're starting your day with loud music and EDM and it helps wake you up, maybe just for a week, try to start your day on a lighter note with some lighter music, maybe a soft spoken podcast, and see if it affects your anxiety levels, your stress levels, because for me, I feel like it definitely did. I was a NARS Creamy Concealer user for, I'm like, lesson number 2, I was a NARS Creamy Concealer user for probably 5, 6, 7 years. And I feel like when you have a makeup product that works for you, especially as someone with acne, you stick to it. And I recently ventured out and I got 2 new concealers. I got the Hourglass concealer and the Kosas, and I've honestly really been liking it. I'd say the Hourglass is a bit more coverage and the Kosas blends a little bit better, but if you're looking for a high coverage concealer, I think the Hourglass one's really, really good. Lesson number 2 that I really picked up on as I was reflecting on the past year is the importance of hard conversations, and the fact that if someone can't have a hard conversation with you, they probably aren't going to be in your life long term. I can think about all of my closest friendships and my relationship with my boyfriend. We have had to have some really hard conversations. Like, I've hurt their feelings, they've hurt my feelings. And I'm the type of person who is very comfortable with having hard conversations. I can go to someone, I can sit down and say, let's work through this. And I can reflect back on the past 2, 3 years and think about people who are still in my life versus people who aren't in my life anymore. And there's definitely been people who we had to have one hard conversation and they're gone. And I feel like I would take that so personally. But when I was taking time to reflect this year, I really just started to notice that just because you're having a hard conversation with someone doesn't mean that you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you're mad at them forever. Some of my closest best friends from college, we've had so many hard conversations and we've learned how to respect each other during these conversations and grow together. And I feel like as I reflected on this past year and the year before, I noticed that there are people who I had a hard conversation with that left immediately after. And I just think it's really important to be aware that if someone in your life can't handle a hard conversation with you and they run away, that's not on you. If there is someone in your life who can't have those hard conversations, they probably won't be in your life long term. And I feel like that was a really tough pill for me to swallow, because I'm like, no, like, let's work through this. Like, let's have these hard conversations. And not everyone wants that. And that is okay. Like, if they don't want that, that is okay. They can continue on with their life, but they probably won't be in yours super long term. Lesson number 3, and this is kind of exposing myself. I am addicted to my phone. I am literally not kidding you. I reflected back on the past year of my life and I just thought about how much time, and I looked at my screen time and everything for how much time I spent on my phone. I am addicted. I am addicted to my phone. And this is something I need to work on. This is something I already know you need to work on it too. And as we head into this next year, I'm definitely going to be taking some steps to really work on this for my own self. I know that there are apps out there that you can use to kind of lock apps that you're like doom scrolling on. So for example, I have a timer set on my TikTok app, so I can only use it for, originally I had it 5 minutes a day. I moved it up to 10, which I'm like, is that a bad sign that we're already moving it up? I moved it up to 10 minutes. So now I only give myself 10 minutes a day on TikTok, and then the app locks. So that is one step that I'm taking to kind of avoid being as addicted to my phone. But I feel like even in life, I would see something so beautiful in person and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to take a picture of it. And I know that that stems from wanting to be able to experience that beauty and that excitement again the next time I see that picture. But I think that as I head into 2025, this is just something that I want to really try to bring more awareness into. If I see something beautiful in person, I want to just be able to look at it and experience it and not feel like I need to record it or take a picture of it. I have 150,000 pictures in my camera roll. Do I need a picture of the cute flower that I saw on the side of the road? You know what I mean? And I also feel like in public, it's always so easy to just be like, oh, I'm in my own bubble. I'm on my phone. If I'm on my phone, I won't look weird. I won't look awkward. No one's judging me. No one's wondering what I'm doing because I'm on my phone. I feel like in public situations where you're feeling awkward and you're uncomfortable, there is so much room for growth and for challenging yourself to really get more comfortable just being with your body. So this year, am going to make a conscious effort to really just be with myself, with my body in public. So if I'm in a waiting room at a doctor's office, I'm gonna try to just sit there and not go on my phone. If I am at the airport and I'm in the line to board, I'm gonna try to just be there boarding instead of going on my phone during it. We'll see how that goes, but that's just something that I definitely noticed was at the top of mind when I was reflecting on my year. I was like, okay, I definitely am addicted to my phone, and there are some changes that I know I need to make. So those are some steps that I'm gonna take to kind of work through that. The next lesson that I feel like I picked up on a lot during my reflection is the importance of a third location. And if you've never heard of the concept of a third location, basically I can't remember like who came up with this, but somebody out there came up with the concept that you should have 3 locations in your life. One of them is work, one of them is home, and the third one, your third location, which is arguably the most important one, should be something that isn't work, it's not home, but it introduces you to new opportunities and new people and gives you that social aspect. So maybe for you, it's going to Pilates. Maybe your third location is solid core. Maybe your third location is the library in your town. Maybe it's your favorite park. I feel like, especially because I own my own business, I was spending in 2024, 99% of my time in the office or at home. And my third location for me was really the Pilates studio that I teach at in St. Pete. But then I'm also like, that's work. So does that count as a third location? You know what I mean? So this year I'm gonna try to really be intentional about creating a third location for myself that isn't work related, that doesn't have anything to do with making money or anything like that, and really is just about meeting people. So maybe like beach volleyball, that type of vibe. If you don't have a third location right now, I encourage you to just try it out for like a month and see if it works. You'll probably meet new people, but I was reflecting back on the past year and I was like, I could probably use a more solid third location. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I still love the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand. I got this, when did we all get these? In like 2018, and I never went back. I've been using it ever since. So I still love this. I know everyone's using like powdered contour lately or cream, but this one, I love this one still. I've been using it for years and years and years. My next lesson that I feel like really stuck out to me was that personal growth happens a lot slower than I thought it would. I can reflect back on 2020, 2019, the time when I was in college, and I can really just think about the fact that I was not the best person. I was constantly comparing myself to others, comparing others to me. I was always putting my journey against other people's and comparing and gossiping and trying to keep up with everyone else and not really focusing on myself. And this was when I was back in college. And I feel like as I reflected on the past year, even though it's been like 5 years now since 2020, there were definitely times in 2024 where I found the 2020 version of myself coming back out. And that's something that I personally don't want to happen. Like, I don't even recognize the person that I was in 2020. But as I reflected on 2024, I noticed that there were times where I was just acting in a way that my highest self and my 2025 version of myself doesn't want to act. And I think that as you reflect on personal growth, it's important to just acknowledge that it's not going to happen overnight. It's not even going to happen over the span of 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Like, we are always working on improving ourselves every single year. And I feel like giving yourself the space and the grace to really improve and grow year over year, and it doesn't have to happen all at once, is so important. And something that I personally noticed is that there were definitely specific, I don't know what to call them, like regression triggers, like things or people or places or circumstances that would trigger me to act in the way that I was acting a few years ago. And I feel like if you can bring awareness into those regression triggers, I don't know if that's the right word to use, but if you can notice the circumstances that you're in or the places that you are or the people that you're with when you are acting your worst, it's going to make it easier to start acting your best. So I can reflect back on the past year or so and say, okay, every time I was with this person, I was not acting as my highest self. Every time that I went out to the bar and got drunk, I was not acting as my highest self. As we head into 2025, maybe there's some room to really make sure that we don't put ourselves in these situations with those same people or in those same places, so that we can really, really focus on personal growth this year. Personal growth isn't overnight, and we're all still working on it every single day. And I'm really excited to just continue to grow in 2025. I feel like my next two lessons kind of go together a little bit. But my next lesson would be that there are going to be people in your life who are only there for you when you're not doing well, which is, it's awesome, right? You want someone in your corner when you are struggling, when you are hurting, when things aren't going well. It's so amazing to feel seen by those people and feel heard by those people. But if those people are only making you feel seen, heard, and supported when you are not doing well, those probably aren't your people. Like, if you have a big win in life, or if you are crushing it at your job, if those people are not reaching out to say, I'm so proud of you, like, you're doing amazing, and they're only reaching out when you are doing bad or things aren't going well, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, girl, I'm here for you, but they're not supporting you when you're crushing it, there's something off there. And I feel like this ties into my next lesson that I learned as I reflected on the past year, is that you just really can't trust everyone, even if this person is your family, even if this person is your best friend. You really just can't trust everyone. And I am the type of person who, I go out of my way to give everyone the benefit of the doubt when I meet them and when I get to know them. And I want to believe that everyone in my life wants the best for me the same way that I want the best for them. And I feel like over the past few years, it's been so hard for me to like swallow the fact that not everyone in your life is going to be your biggest fan and wants the best for you, even if they are your friend, even if they are your family. And I feel like this idea of like, don't trust anyone. Like, I don't want to come across as cynical and tell you guys not to trust anyone. And I'm not just talking about like friendships here. I'm also talking about just situational awareness. I'll tell you a story here. I actually have never really talked about this before. In 2023, so this wasn't last year, it was the year before, I got sexually assaulted. Trigger warning. And I remember, like, I don't know if I'm like really ready to go into like details and everything, but I remember in the situation that I was in, I trusted this person. Like, this person never, like, this never should have been a thing that happened. I didn't have my guard up, anything like that. And then something bad happened because I gave this person the benefit of the doubt. So I feel like as I head into 2025, I am going to bring a little bit more of a sense of guarded energy towards who I welcome into my space. And I just want to encourage you to be careful and be selective about the strangers that you trust, about the friends that you trust, about the family members that you trust. Don't be cynical, don't hate everyone, but just protect your peace and remind yourself that not everyone is there to be your biggest fan. Okay, this next one, I feel like I'm kind of in the trenches of like these like deep topics right now. I personally do not have the best relationship with my family. I don't have the closest relationship with my mom. So my dad actually passed away when I was in college, and my family's dynamic was always like me and my dad, and then my mom and my brother. And that's how we kind of split up. Like if we were gonna ride a roller coaster together, right? And there's 4 seats, it would be me and my dad, and then me, my mom, and my brother. My dad and I were very similar. We shared a lot of the same interests. My brother and my mom are very similar. They share a lot of the same interests. When my dad passed away, it was really hard for me for so many reasons, but it was also hard because I knew that I was gonna lose the person who would ride roller coasters with me. Not real roller coasters, but you know what I mean, like hypothetical here. Like in 2024, I did a lot of therapy sessions and just tried to work on improving my communication with my family and improving my communication with my mom and viewing her as just another girl going through life for the first time rather than my mom. And even though I love my mom so much and I would do anything that she needed me to do, I do think that one of the lessons that I learned in the past year is that it's okay to not force this happy, amazing, beautiful relationship, even if it's with someone that you're family with. And I feel like if you're scrolling on TikTok, especially around the holidays, you're scrolling, you're like, oh my God, happy family, happy family. They're playing games together. They're playing Hungry, Hungry Hippo with spatulas. Everyone's laughing, everyone's singing, everyone's moms are like jumping up and down, and it's crazy. And I would look at that and I'm like, I want this. Like, I'm gonna make this happen. And I feel like if you have to force it, it's not meant to happen. And as I head into 2025, I think that I'm just going to start to try to personally accept the fact that you can have a relationship with your family that is loving and respectful, but is also slightly distanced to protect yourself. Because if these people are not allowing you to grow as a person and are still viewing you as maybe the version of yourself that you were when you lived with them, right? Like if you lived with your parents or your siblings growing up and you were, let's say, like 16 years old, everyone's evil at 16. But if these people in your life are still viewing you as that evil 16-year-old and they're not giving you the space to grow, you can't force them to understand that. You can't force them to accept that you have grown. And as I head into 2025, I'm just gonna bring kind of a renewed sense of personal space and respectful boundaries into my family life. And I think this is kind of a taboo topic. Like it's hard for someone to come on here and be like, I'm not close with my family. Like I wish I could tell you guys like my family's my best friends. That's not the reality for me. And I know that it's not the reality for so many of us, especially if you have lost a parent. And I just wanted to kind of talk about it openly and just remind you guys that everything that you see online, especially as we're coming out of the holiday season, it's okay if that's not your reality, and it's okay if you are struggling with your family dynamic. I'm struggling too, and I'm here for you. The next lesson that I have really noticed has been super relevant in my life is that I'm talking to myself. I need to stop trying to seek closure from closed-minded people or seek closure from people that I've hurt or seek closure from people that have hurt me. Like I said earlier in the video, I am the type of person who I can have hard conversations. I can go up to someone that I've hurt and said, I'm sorry that I did this. Let's move forward. How can we move forward? If someone came up to me, someone that hurt me, came up to me and had a hard conversation with me and said, how can we move forward? What can we do to make this better? I would love that. Like I love to work through things. I can reflect back on relationships and friendships and dynamics that I've had in the past year or so, and situations that came up where I felt really bad or someone else felt really bad, and I went out of my way to reach out to them and be like, I'm so sorry, I hope you're doing okay. Or anything like that, just to follow up and seek that closure and just let them know that going forward in life, like I wish nothing but the best for them, even if that means like we're not in each other's life anymore. I still wish nothing but the best for them. And there have been so many times where I reach out to someone, let them know like I'm wishing you the best, like I'm thinking of you, I hope everything's going amazing, left on red. Like, and every time before I reach out to like an old friend or something like that, I always overthink it. I'm like, should I send this? Maybe I shouldn't. And then I think about if I receive that message, I'd be like, this is such a beautiful message to receive. Like, I'm so glad that this person reached out to me. And then I send the message and I get left on red, or there's just nothing that comes from it. And I think that as I head into 2025, I'm gonna just stop seeking closure from people who obviously do not care to reciprocate any type of mutual respect at the end of relationships. I feel like there have been friendships, there have been relationships, there have been family dynamics where I try to be the bigger person and I reach out, I'm wishing you the best, blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't get reciprocated. And then I'm just left feeling embarrassed almost. And I feel like when I talk through these dynamics with my boyfriend, Jack, he always tells me, he's like, Steph, I don't think you should send this. Like, I think you're just gonna get hurt. And I'm like, no, this person, like, we were so close at one point in life. Like, I want her to know that I am like so cheering her on still. And Jack's like, I don't think you should send it. And then I always send it and it never goes well. So as I head into a new year, I think I'm gonna keep those same boundaries that I just spoke about with family and carry them into all of my dynamics into the rest of my life. I feel like I have, for the past few years, constantly tried to seek closure or seek an explanation from people when certain things happen. And I think this year is going to be the year where I just move on. That's kind of something really hard for me to come to the conclusion of. Like, I want to have those hard conversations and I want to keep people in my life. Like, I'm not the type of person who can invest into a friendship and give them everything for a year or 2 years or 3 years and then cut them off. I don't understand people who can do that, but I can't do that. And so the times in my life where that has happened to me and I reach out and I'm like, I'm wishing you the best. Like, I hope everything's going amazing. No response. Those days are done. I am not going to do that this year. So I'm just gonna kind of keep to myself and mentally and internally wish them the best. But I think that you, and I'm saying this to you now, you need to stop seeking closure from people who don't care about you anymore, okay? That one's hard. My final lesson of 2024, based off my reflections, and this one is kind of cliche, is that truly your 20s are a scary time. Like, it's scary. I don't know why. Like, I thought when I was 16, 17, I was like, by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna be married, I'm gonna have a house, I'm gonna have 10 kids. Like, I don't know why I thought that I was gonna be like a full trad wife by 25. But now that I'm 26, it's just crazy to think about how scary your 20s are. Everyone in your life is at such a different place. You're constantly thinking about your future and okay, and now you have like this biological time clock and it's like, okay, well, I have to find a partner so that I can get married. And then if we get engaged, then we're gonna need a year to plan a wedding, and then we're gonna have the year to plan the wedding, and then we're gonna get married, and then we're gonna have to buy a house, and then we're gonna have kids, because then by then I won't be able to have kids. And there's just so much that goes into your 20s. And I feel like I definitely approached my 20s with a sense of like naivety. Is that the right word? Naivety? I was definitely naive when I was thinking about my 20s when I was younger. I was like, oh, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be easy breezy. The 20s have definitely been really fun for me. It's been some of the most fun times of my life. I've met some of my best friends who I know will be in my life forever. I've met people who were in my life for a season and now they're not anymore. But it's so scary to reflect on your 20s and think about how transformative they are, because when you're like 20 and you're 21, you're still partying, you're still like, oh my God, I can finally drink. And then by the time the end of your 20s come around, you're supposed to be like getting married And having kids, like that is the craziest decade ever. And it definitely scares me to think about. And I just want to remind you that if you are in your 20s right now, and if you're not in your 20s, we'll start there. If you are watching this and you are a little bit younger, just know that what I'm saying right now, it's scary, right? It's so much fun. Don't think that it's all scary. It's so much fun, but it is scary. Like there's a lot of personal development that happens. There's a lot of ups and downs that happens. And if you are in your 20s right now, I just want to remind you that we're all trying our best. Whatever you're doing right now is enough. You are fine. Your timeline is exactly your timeline. It's exactly where you should be. And I just want to put it into the universe for 2025 that this year is going to be amazing. No matter if you're younger than your 20s, if you're in your 20s, if you're older than your 20s, this year is going to be amazing. Like I said at the beginning, 2024 was not my favorite year I've had in a while, but I am determined to make 2025 the best and most fruitful year in all aspects of my life, from travel to relationships to friendships to work to everything. And just know that if 2024 wasn't your year either, it's okay. I am right there with you, and we are going to just make all of these little adjustments and learn from all of the mistakes that we made in the past year and just grow and make 2025 so much better. Okay, so this is just such a light, easy, every single day makeup routine, and I sprayed it in my mouth. So this is the final look of kind of what I do for my everyday makeup. And I feel like it does do a really good job of covering my acne. Like I showed you guys my acne at the beginning of the video, and I feel like it did a good job of covering everything, and it only used a few products. So I'll show you guys all of the products that I used. For foundation, the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. For full coverage concealer, the Hourglass Concealer. For a concealer that's less full coverage and blends really well, the Kosas Concealer. For blush, the Kosas Blush. It's just a powder blush. I love using a powder blush because I feel like it just keeps the skin really matte if you're oily. For bronzer, the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Stick. For setting powder, the Laura Mercier Setting Powder. For mascara, I'm using this Sky High mascara by Maybelline. I got it at Target for like $2, but I actually found out that this is like the primer. This is a tinted primer. It's not an actual mascara. So I don't really know what the difference is with that. And if you have a good mascara recommendation, can you let me know? Because I was using the Better Than Sex mascara, and I feel like it just like would collect under here. And then I tried Tarte's tubing mascara, and I didn't like the tubing mascara. So if you have a mascara that you are loving lately, please send it my way. For lips, I always do the Rare Beauty Tinted Lip Oil. For setting spray, I like the Urban Decay De-Slick. For eyebrows, I'm just using this Ulta Beauty brand eyebrow pencil. These are all of the products that I use for my everyday super light makeup look. Like I said earlier in this video, I also did a business reflection on the past year and everything that I've learned from a business perspective. So if you guys would be interested in me sharing the business perspective side of like 10 lessons that I learned, let me know, and I can definitely sit down with you guys and talk about all of those as well. But I'm just wishing you so much luck as we head into a new year. Stay open-minded, reset, improve yourself in any way that you think you need to, and just know that I will be cheering you on every single step of the way, and I will be growing with you. I love you guys so much, and if you need anything, feel free to DM me on Instagram.